Hey everybody, Movie Review Next Door here, and I'm back with another review. This time, I saw Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. This is a 2011 spy thriller film directed by Brad Bird, and it stars Tom Cruise, Paula Patton, Simon Pegg, Jeremy Renner, Michael Nyqvist, and Léa Seydoux. In this film, Ethan Hunt and his team are racing against time to track down a dangerous terrorist named Hendrix, who has gained access to Russian nuclear launch codes and is planning a strike on the United States. An attempt to stop him ends in an explosion causing severe destruction to the Kremlin and the IMF to be implicated in the bombing, forcing the president to disavow them. No longer being aided by the government, Ethan and his team chase Hendrix around the globe, although they might still be too late to stop a disaster. So, what did I think of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol? Well, I don't know if this is the weakest in the series. It still might be Mission Impossible 2. It's kind of neck and neck with that one for me. It's not a bad movie, but it's nowhere near the heights of Mission Impossible 3, and it's nowhere near the interesting way that the first film went out. There are quite a few things holding it back for me. Even if a lot of people will say that certain things are improved at times, I overall I just did not I did not like it as much as the last one especially. But let me get to the cast. Tom Cruise plays Ethan Hunt. He still continues the good performance from the last film. He's still really good in the role. He still works. Paula Patton plays Jane. She's a kind of newer recruit. I like Paula Patton. I like her. There's a comedy I remember thinking she was funny in called Baggage Claim. I think she's a good actress. And I think she was good in Mirrors with Kiefer Sutherland. This, it's not that her performance is bad, it's that I don't buy her in this role. She is an actress that I can much more see doing a comedy or a drama rather than a spy thriller. I don't buy her as a badass. The fight scenes that she has are kind of weird and a bit wonky. So, yeah, I'm just not super thrilled with this casting choice. Maggie Q in the last one I think worked a lot better. Simon Pegg plays Benji. I can take him or leave him. I haven't seen Simon Pegg's well-known work from Britain, but he's there. He's okay. Uh, he's not offensive or anything. He's just kind of there. Jeremy Renner plays Brant. He's an analyst that ends up helping them along the way. I like Jeremy Renner. He was in what I think was my favorite Bourne film, Bourne Legacy. It's either Bourne Legacy or Jason Bourne, because most of them, I liked when I could actually tell what the action scenes were doing. And Jeremy Renner, apparently originally he was going to take over as Ethan Hunt, or not as Ethan Hunt, but as the main character of the series, and I can see why. Jeremy Renner is a very talented actor, and I think he can shine in the action and stunt scenes. Michael Nyqvist plays Hendrix, our villain. I love this actor. I think he did an awesome job in John Wick as the villain. Abduction, not so much. He was kind of wasted in Abduction, and having to speak in English just didn't work for that one. IT, he wasn't the reason IT didn't work for me. I like the actor, it's just he constantly gets wasted in American movies. Here, I think he's giving a good performance, but his character's just kind of bland. There's not much to him. And Léa Seydoux as Sabine Moreau, she's kind of a secondary antagonist. I'm not huge on this actress. I think she might in the future be able to do something interesting. I have a movie on my watch list called France that apparently she's really good in, but between this and the only thing I can think of that I liked her in was Inglourious Bastards. She plays young Shoshana, I think. I remembered her being good in that, the little bit she's in it. But from the things I've seen her in being uh, No Time to Die Spectre in this, I'm not huge on her. And I don't really buy her as this assassin, to be honest. And I'd say that's one of the big things off the top of my head that I think is wrong with this film. There's some miscasting going on. Paula Patton and Léa Seydoux do not fit their roles that well, I think. Léa Seydoux usually plays kind of damsel in distressy roles or like dramatic roles, and I don't think this is the right casting choice at all. Because every time, like they usually with a villain character, you have like a scene in the movie that really shows what they're capable of. And the first time you see this character, she's just like nonchalantly walking and like it barely looks like she's even putting in enough energy to pull the fucking trigger of the gun, and she kills an agent that becomes very plot relevant. But I didn't really get from her performance that she was like this master like hit woman. And the scenes later where there's like a tense scene of them talking to her, Ethan Hunt and Jeremy Renner's character, and she doesn't act, she just kind of acts nonchalant, and it just didn't really work, I don't think. And Paula Patton, again, I like Paula Patton as an actress. I think she is a good actress. Here, this is a clear thing of like, who could we get, I guess. Maybe she's a friend of Brad Bird's, maybe she was in something else he did. But yeah, I'm not a fan of her casting in this. Um, Another thing, the direction. I'm not going to say the direction was bad. It wasn't. But from this, it's very clear that Brad Bird is a much better animation director. Because I'm not going to say the film is badly directed. It's not. It's just kind of flat, though. A lot of the action doesn't have a lot of a punch to it. Don't get me wrong, they're well choreographed action scenes and like stunt sequences. There's some really good stunt work in this still. That is one thing I will give these movies. Even Mission Impossible 2, there's some really good stunt work in it. This one continues that. The scene on the Burj Khalifa is still very jaw-dropping, very impressive, a lot of fun, very intense. And the scenes where they're like having to blend in and do all this stuff, they technically work, but they are kind of meh compared to the last film. Like the one in the third one where they're in the building, like trying to get Philip Seymour Hoffman's character, is so much better than both of these stealth sequences in this. I keep calling them stealth sequences, the missions. And it's a bit disappointing. And there's like there's 3 of them in this film, like sneaking sequences or whatever. And they're fine. They work. It's just there's nothing that special about them. And I don't know. I don't know if it's because Brad Bird is not normally a director of live action films. The only other live action film he did was Tomorrowland, which I haven't heard really anybody talk about that movie in forever. Like, I remember there being like ads for it on TV, but I don't remember anything else about it. I will say off the bat, I do like Brad Bird as an animation director. I remembered loving The Iron Giant, and I love The Incredibles. And Ratatouille is a good one. Haven't seen Incredibles 2, though. But, like, you can kind of tell where his directing prowess lies, especially in the CGI. Because, okay, this film does use CGI way more than the last one did, very clearly at times. The worst effect, I think, in this movie is the Kremlin thing, where the Kremlin explodes. Um, and it's not that it's bad CGI, but the physics are a bit off, and there's like random explosions happening around Ethan, and I'm not a fan of it. At least it's not like a long sequence of the explosion. He gets knocked out pretty quickly. But that's the worst effect of the movie. I would hope that with a higher budget you try like some model work or something different, like some way of having it interact with him. I just thought it didn't look that great. Um I like the opening like titles. The opening title sequence feels kind of like a James Bond type title sequence, and we haven't really had that up until now. It's been mostly just the Mission Impossible theme and a wick and the names. But this one you have more of like a showing scenes from the movie, or like the fucking wick like going past people and shit. It looks cool. I like it. Um I know I'm very like disorganized. Um but yeah, the villains too. Léa Seydoux and Michael Nyqvist. Again, Léa Seydoux I just don't think fits in this type of role. Uh I think you need somebody who's a bit harder looking. Like, not so hard that they stick out like a sore thumb, but Léa Seydoux just looks like she's trying to be pretty in every scene, and it just doesn't really work with this kind of like hardened killer thing you want to do with her. And I hear people talking about like why she's an overshadowed villain, but she barely does anything. She's in the one scene where she shoots the guy that kind of kicks off the story, and she's in the scene where um they're like trading the files with her or whatever, the codes for diamonds or whatever, and then she's out of the movie. Like, they don't do much with her too, which is a bit of an issue. And Michael Nyqvist, again, I love this actor. I think he can do a really good job when he's given something. John Wick is by far his best role in America. But here, he's just kind of a stock villain who's like, oh, I'm gonna take over the world, or I'm gonna blow up Russia or some shit. Like it's just like the most stock plan ever. Like, I'm not gonna say that the last film's plot was intricate or anything, but at least there it worked. And I bought Philip Seymour Hoffman as a threat. This guy's like this character, not Michael Nyqvist himself, is just kind of boring. Um, and the plot. The plot of this movie is basically the plot of the last film. What's the plot of the last film? The director at IMF thinks that Ethan did something bad, or the blame is being put on Ethan for all the stuff that the villain's actually doing. Um, in this one, the blame for what happened at the Kremlin is put on the IMF, so they're not able to call for help. It's basically the same exact plot. And the next one is called Rogue Nation, which makes me think that it's going to be the same plot again. Maybe it won't be. Hopefully. But yeah, I like the plot is just so like whatever that it's just kind of like whatever. I just don't really care. Um I What else? Like, even with all of the action sequences, this film just didn't have the like fun factor to it that the last one did. The last one had like kind of a darkish tone, but it still knew when to have fun with the premise of the missions and everything. This one just kind of, the tone is a bit like a bit too overly serious for me. Maybe that's what they're going to try to do with these next movies, but I I hope they don't, because I wasn't a fan of that tone. But I can say the good things about this. This film does look pretty good for the most part, even if it is kind of flatly shot at times. The editing, um, the editing and camera work during the action scenes is a bit better, but almost to the point where the action scenes lack a little bit of punch. But still, there is a little bit less shaky cam. Again, most of the actors do good jobs for the most part. Um, the ending was sweet. I like the ending, and we get a reference to the last film that was nice. Um, Nice to see Ving Rhames in a little cameo in the end. Um, and Michelle Monaghan. And I won't say I was bored watching this movie. The pace wasn't bad, but there were parts where it did kind of lag, where the last film didn't really do that. But yeah, overall, it's not a bad movie. It's not bad. It's just kind of bland compared to the others. Even Mission Impossible 2. This might be my least favorite so far, but yeah, it's fine, but it was a bit of a letdown given how much I liked the third one. But yeah, that was my review of Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. If you've seen the film, let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations, put them down there as well. And movie reviewer next door,